things got strange. My daughter started telling me there was something living in her closet, something that only came out at night but disappeared during the day. She was always an imaginative kid, and we brushed it off as a phase. Weeks passed. My wife and daughter went to stay at my mother's house for a girls' night. I stayed home, watched some movies, and fell asleep on the couch. Around 2 a.m., the phone rang. It was the neighbor's father. His voice was shaking. He said their son was missing, that his bedroom door was open and they couldn't find him anywhere. Then he said something that made my skin tighten. "We figured you were awake. Our son said he saw you walking around upstairs and he noticed your bedroom light was on. But I'd been asleep downstairs for hours. No one had walked anywhere. No one had turned on any light." My blood froze. I hung up, ran for my truck to grab my shotgun. But before I could, I saw the sheriff's car rolling up to their house. So I rushed over and told him, "There's someone inside my home and my daughter's bedroom light is on." From the yard, you could see it clearly. A single silhouette pacing back and forth in a room. The deputies went in first. I heard them shouting, then silence. When they brought him out, it was the neighbor's son. He had broken in, gone upstairs, and inside my daughter's closet, he'd built a little setup, a blanket, a flashlight, some snacks, and a small gap in the door where he could see the bed. When they dragged him out, he looked at me with this empty smile, and he said, "I like watching her sleep in the moonlight." Story number 2. I was rushing out of my house because my friend was already outside honking. We were late for a hockey game in the city, so I grabbed my jacket and ran the whole drive there. We were laughing, messing around, just having a good time, until something small and stupid hit me. I didn't have my phone. I checked the seat, under it, the floor. Nothing. I figured I must have left it at home, but for some reason it kept nagging at me. During intermission, the worry got too strong, so I borrowed my friend's phone and ran to the bathroom. I dialed my number. It rang 3 times before someone picked up, but they didn't say anything, just breathing, slow, steady, like they were listening. I laughed nervously and said, "Hey, did I leave my phone at home?" Silence. Not even a breath now, like whoever it was suddenly stopped to avoid being heard. I assumed it was my little brother messing with me, so I hung up. When the game was over, my friend dropped me at home. My street was dark, quiet. Too quiet. I unlocked the front door and immediately called my parents. They told me they were still out eating and watching a concert with my little brother. They had left shortly after I did, and nobody had been home since. That's when it hit me. If no one was home, who answered my call? A cold, heavy feeling dropped into my stomach. I tried to push it down, tried to tell myself I misdialed, but then I heard it. The back door, opening, slowly, then closing, very softly, almost intentionally quiet. I didn't think. I bolted out the front door, sprinted to the neighbor's house, and called the police. When the police checked the house, nothing was stolen. No forced entry. No broken windows. Just the back door, unlocked. But the officer stopped in the hallway and called me over. My phone was lying neatly on the floor, placed right in the middle, face up, as if someone had set it down carefully, deliberately. After answering it, the officer asked, "Did you leave it here?" I shook my head. The charger was still plugged in next to my bed. Someone had taken my phone from my room, answered my call, walked through my house, and then left it in the center of the hallway, like a message. Before leaving, the officer said something I'll never forget. Nothing being stolen isn't the scary part. The scary part is that whoever it wasn't here for your things. He paused. He was here for you. That night, I slept with every light on, but I still kept thinking about one thing. If I hadn't called my phone at sat sitting perfectly still on my mom's doorway, staring into my room. That was strange because he always slept with us. Always. The cat stepped into my room, looked directly at me, and let out one short, sharp meow. I turned to wake my mom. It took maybe 3 seconds. 3 seconds. When we both looked back at the doorway, there was a man standing there. A full-grown man. Inside our apartment. Inside our hallway. Just watching us. My mom didn't scream. She grabbed me, pulled me out of the bed, and in one motion, shoved me through the window screen. I hit the bushes outside. She jumped out right after me. We ran barefoot, yelling for someone to call the police. They came fast, but found no signs of forced entry. No broken window, no damaged lock, just our front door. Somehow unlocked. My mom swore she had locked it. Deadbolt, chain, everything. She said it over and over again. A week later, she was cleaning the kitchen. She opened the water heater closet and froze. Inside was a notebook, a small spiral notebook stuffed behind the heater, with names, drawings, notes, and a pair of gloves, chewed up gum wrappers. Little things a person carries in their pockets. The police took it, but they never found him. They believed he might have been hiding inside our apartment, waiting for us to fall asleep. For who knows how long, years passed. We moved away, but when I was older, something else happened. I was in the basement doing laundry, and the light on the far side of the basement suddenly went out. The only light left was behind me, glowing blue from the laundry room. Everything else was darkness. I stepped out into that dark, silent basement, walking fast, trying not to look behind me, trying not to imagine footsteps following mine. Halfway to the stairs, I heard a laugh right behind me, low, gravelly, like a witch who had smoked for 50 years. Just one long, ugly laugh. I ran up the stairs so fast I fell twice, waited until my dad got home to change the bulb. I never heard that laugh again, and I never told anyone in the house, because deep down, I don't think it was the basement I was afraid of. I think it was the idea that it might have been the same man, and that he never really left their last step. Story number 4. My sister was only 11 years old when something began watching her. Every afternoon, she stepped outside to smoke on the porch, and every afternoon, the same white SUV appeared at the end of the driveway. It never moved, it never made a sound. It just sat there and facing the house like it was waiting. The windows were so dark, you couldn't see a single shape inside. No license plate, no markings, just an empty, silent vehicle staring directly at her. Whenever my sister went back inside, the SUV would slowly roll away down the road and park in the empty church lot across the street. But the moment she stepped outside again, it returned, like it was following her breath, her footsteps, her routine. At first, she tried to ignore it, but the feeling of being watched, even from behind the windows inside the house, started to eat at her. She'd peek through the blinds, and there it was, completely still, pointed straight at the porch, as if it knew exactly which window she was behind. One afternoon, she snapped. She told me to stay in the garage while she walked down the driveway to confront it, but halfway there, she froze. She later told me she felt something primal, screaming inside her head, a warning so loud it drowned everything else out. She said it felt like if she took one more step, she wouldn't come back. Months passed, no SUV, no signs, nothing. Then one night, when our parents were out, it came back, slowly rolling in front of the house, its headlights off, its engine barely breathing. My sister ran inside shaking. I told my dad. He was a deputy chief, and he stepped outside armed, walking straight toward the SUV. The vehicle stayed still for only a few seconds, and then it tore off, so hard the tires screamed. But the part that haunts me is what my dad noticed as it sped away. The license plate was completely covered in black tape, hidden on purpose, like whoever was inside didn't want to be identified, like they'd done this before. We never saw the SUV again. I was only 4 years old, but even now, I can still picture those tinted windows and the feeling that someone was waiting for my sister to take that one last step. Story number 5. This happened to my wife's grandmother, and it haunted her until the day she died. It was about 15 years ago, in the coldest part of winter. She had just finished volunteering at the small local library in South Texas. The place closed at 5 p.m., but that night she stayed a little later to help clean up. When she finally stepped outside, the sky was already pitch black. A coworker offered her a ride home, but she politely refused. Her house was just a mile away, even if that mile was down a lonely, partially wooded path she had walked that trail her whole life. She said it always felt safe, until that night. About halfway home, she heard footsteps behind her, slow, steady, matching her pace. She told herself not to turn around, not yet, but the steps got closer and closer until she could hear the crunch of leaves right behind her heels. When she finally glanced back, she saw a man, tall, thin, wearing dark clothes, walking the same direction and gaining on her. At first, she hoped it was just coincidence, but the way he moved, fast when she slowed, slow when she sped up, she knew he was following her. Her house was now barely visible through the trees. The faint outline of her front porch light was glowing in the darkness. She whispered to herself, "Just make it home. Just make it home." She was maybe 150 yards away when the man closed the distance, close enough that she could hear his breathing, shallow, uneven, hungry. She said it felt like having an animal behind her, like something waiting for the perfect moment to strike at about 50 yards from safety. She felt a cold, rough hand clamp down on her shoulder. He leaned in, his lips almost touching her ear, and whispered with a trembling, furious voice, "Don't turn around, don't scream. Give me your purse, or I'll cut you." For a second, she froze. The world went silent. No wind, no birds, just her heartbeat hammering inside her skull. Then, something in her snapped. In one swift movement, faster than the man expected, she stepped forward, spun around, reached into her coat, and pulled out the old .38 revolver she carried since her husband died. The man's eyes widened. He opened his mouth, maybe to beg, maybe to threaten. But she didn't wait. One shot. Straight to the side of his neck, the man collapsed instantly, choking on his own breath as dark blood soaked into the frozen dirt. He survived, barely, but he spent the next 5 years in a prison hospital before complications finally killed him. My wife's grandmother passed away last year, and even near the end, she said she never got over that night. The guilt, the shadow behind her on the trail, that whisper at her ear, that feeling of hot breath on her neck. But what terrified her the most was that she never heard him approaching, not until he was already close enough to touch her. Story number 6. This happened to my father when he was around 10 years old, and even now he never talks about it without his voice shaking. A part of him stayed in that moment forever. He was home alone one quiet afternoon, the kind of silence that feels heavy, almost alive. He sat in the living room watching TV, the only TV in the house. Suddenly, the screen went black. No flicker, no static, Just a sharp click as if someone had pressed the button. He got up, turned it back on, and sat down again. Click. Off again. He frowned, stood up, turned it back on. Click. Off. It kept happening, with the exact same timing, almost too perfect. That's when he started feeling it, the sense that he wasn't alone in the house anymore. Trying to find the remote, he checked the table, the cushions, the floor. Nothing. Then he walked to the big sofa pressed against the wall, a heavy sofa that no kid could move. He leaned forward and looked behind it. And that's when he saw it. At first, just a lock of messy black hair hanging down, then a pale forehead, then two huge eyes staring straight at him from the shadows. But the expression, that was the part that froze him in place. The man, if you could even call it a man, was crouched in the corner behind the sofa, unmoving. His mouth was hanging open as if he'd been breathing back there for a very, very long time, and in his right hand, tightly gripped, was the TV remote, pointed directly at the screen. My father couldn't scream. His body wouldn't let him. The man blinked once, slow and unnatural. Then, with a calmness that didn't feel human, he raised the remote. Click. The TV turned off again. My father stepped back, trembling, and the man slowly, painfully spread a wide, crooked smile across his face. Too wide, too many teeth, a smile that looked like it hurt. He didn't speak. He didn't stand up. He didn't chase. He just reached out his left hand toward my father, not to grab him, but as if inviting him to come closer. That was enough. My father ran, bolted out the front door so fast he nearly tripped down the steps. He sprinted to the neighbor's house, screaming. When the police arrived, the man was still there, crouched behind the sofa, staring toward the doorway. Still smiling, they arrested him, but never explained who he was or how long he'd been inside the house. Days later, when my father finally returned home, he checked behind the sofa one more time. The remote was there, but beneath it, scratched into the floor with dirty, broken nails, was his full name. As if the man hadn't chosen the house at random, as if he hadn't been hiding, but waiting for him.